the proliferation of cooperative, mutual, and state-owned enterprises in the United States is actually as much a part, almost as much as a part of the story of American economic development as is the rise of the corporation and standardized mass production. And you get cooperatives, mutuals, local state-owned enterprises in a wide variety of sectors. Electricity and telephones, agriculture. Maybe you bought your son-made raisins today, you bought it from a cooperative. You went to the, I can go on. And in the financial industries, insurance mutuals, mutual savings and loans associations, mutual banks, life insurance fraternals, credit unions. And these aren't just holdovers of the past, they're today, right? A lot of these are today. There are a little over 7,000 credit unions, 93 million members in the United States. 40-some-odd% of the economically active population. Okay, so I study and make the argument through two cases of the productive use of organizational diversity. The first is the promotion and production and use of the system of property insurance mutuals in the first half of the 20th century. I'm going to tell that story. The second is the use of a public community bank hybrid of local relational banking anchored by the Bank of North Dakota. These are two cases that I use in the paper to kind of suggest to give a proof of concept to the idea that we could use organizational diversity as a strategy also to upgrade, to discipline and upgrade financial markets. Okay, so I'm going to tell the insurance mutual story, and then I'll leave the banking story for the discussion or whatever, some other time for the paper. Property insurance markets at the turn of the century before last looked a lot like financial markets at the turn of this century. They were dominated by nationally operating companies and international companies. National operating companies, Hartford, Cigna, Aetna, international companies, global financial institutions. Russia and Britain were the key players, some German. These were tightly coupled together, socially integrated and linked, organizationally integrated and linked into rating associations. They formed cartels and ran the markets collectively. They made money not from careful underwriting operations and doing careful insurance operations, but by scooping up as many premiums as they could from their insurance operations and investing them. It was the banking operations generating high volume production of premiums and getting it over into their financial investments is what they made the money with. Sounds a little familiar. They would focus on, and they would focus heavily on urban areas and large commercial risks, because urban areas is where the money was and where you could easily scoop up a large volume of premiums, large commercial risks. You left whole parts of the country underserved or whole risk classes underserved. These were frenzies. Insurance companies didn't know their costs. They didn't know what the underlying risks were associated with their portfolios. In life insurance, they had done their actuarial tables. In property insurance, they didn't have their act together for a lot longer. Companies had to pool their loss data, and that was a big accomplishment. Generating inadequate reserves and systemic risks. Systemic risks in the sense that everybody had inadequate reserves. Also in the sense they were doing a lot of correlated, they were selling insurance in a lot of the same places and hadn't quite fully worked out the insurance mechanism. It didn't help that they were selling things through independent agents who were paid on a commission. No incentives or compensation wasn't applied at all to the quality of the risks they were underwriting. The insurance risk, by the way, not this century, last century. The companies passed the risk on to basically unregulated reinsurance pools. And at the same time, nobody cared about prevention and fire insurance. Nobody cared at all about prevention. Prevention cost, and there were disincentives to invest in prevention in markets. And if the burning rates went up, the companies just used the cartels to jack up the prices and do these across-the-board price increases. Kind of a mess, right? So instead of reducing uncertainty, the insurance system engaged in all kinds of underwriting cycles. There were insurance famines followed by companies jacking up their rates. So you had the policyholders were experiencing uncertainty rather than the reduction of uncertainty.